ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YouTube channel. So in front of me, I have quite a few parts. Now these are not for the hibiscus, unfortunately. These are for my other S4, my K04 S4, the black one right here. Which if you don't know about this car, why aren't you following me on Instagram already? But besides the point, we have quite a lot of work to do as I have a real track day coming up at Grattan Raceway, I think is what it's called. It's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'm trying to have the car be as dialed as it can be for this track day to make the money and the time driving to the track worth it. So in front of me, I have some higher temp brake fluid, a new wideband because mine shorted because I think I wired it wrong, some EBC yellows, as well as bushings and braces from 034 for a bigger Hotchkiss sway bar for the rear to try and prevent some of the roll that this car has. I'm very excited. This should be fun. Some good upgrades, and then we get to track it afterwards, which will be a good time. So time's a wasting. I only have 2 weeks, I think, to get ready for this and get the brakes bed and everything else. So as well as the other car needs some stuff before a couple events this year. But car season is among us, and I've been sleeping. So without anything else, or without any further ado, let's get to putting them on the car. The first thing we're going to tackle is the front brake pads. I did not find out till after the fact that EBC loves to cram as much brake pad as they can between your pistons and the rotor. So with these being fixed calipers, you'll see me struggle here a little bit with getting the pads in. So the rears ended up being a lot more work than I remembered. I did not have a rewind tool, so I had to go get one, and by the time I got around to doing that, it was pretty late, so I ended up not filming it as I was just trying to knock it out. But here we are bleeding the brakes. Always start from the corner furthest from the brake master. These Brembos are a little tricky to bleed with two bleeders, but I was told the best way to do it is inside, outside, inside, outside, and that worked pretty well for me. Now for my least fruitful endeavor of this entire track prep. Wiring in the new AEM AFR gauge. Unfortunately, shortly after I finished this, the new one shorted. I've pretty much come to a conclusion that I have a short in the harness that is routed through my dash. So that's going to be a bigger project for a later day to completely redo from scratch. So here I am wiring it in, but when you see a hole in my dash later, now you know why. With the rear sway bar install, it went about as I was told it would. It was miserable and the gas tank gets in the way of the upper bolt on the passenger side, but we got it done. So you may be wondering, what track are we going to? I know I mentioned it earlier in the video, but we are going to Grattan Raceway, which is located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's it was theoretically 5.5 hours from where I'm from in Ohio, but the drive ended up taking closer to 7 with stops and, little hiccups here and there. But all in all, the drive went well. Almost everybody made it with no issues, despite the RV that lost power in the middle of Chicago. But here we are at this little 2-mile track in Michigan, ready to tent camp and then do some driving, which it was quite cold, but it was a lot of fun, so let's hop in the car. I'm really pissed I forgot my fucking bumper bolts.
That is unfortunate. I wish I could help, but there's really nothing I do that won't be sketchy.
What?
Novice!
What's it look like I'm doing?
Jerking off!
Out here straight jerking it. And by it, I mean my peatnits. I'm just out here spanking it in the pits, you know?
Real. Breaking my...
I personally think this was probably the best way for me to do my first track day, just because I was surrounded by friends, and we had complete control of the schedule and everything, so there was no rush that like, oh, I'm not going to get enough seat time, or oh, I need to really push my limits to try and make sure I get the absolute most out of this track day. The fact that it was a private rental, we could kind of go at our own pace. You hear them calling out the novice class at the start there because we were divided into driving groups at the start of the day just because some of us had no formal track experience. So, but it was really fun to, it was very laid back. It was not like I imagine some other track days would be where it's, oh, I got to make sure I get the most out of my 3 20-minute sessions. Instead, it was, hey, we have the track for 8 hours, just kind of drive to your heart's content.
OEM seat. You can get a little bit lower, but
Yeah, so I have it like leaned back, which is probably not an optimal driving position,
Yamaha designed the head. Like the 4AG, 4AGE, 3SG2, all sorts of different ones.
that switchover is crazy how noticeable that is.
Yeah.
Probably partially because it's right behind me, but
Yeah.
that is crazy.
And I can brake later.
That is the hardest I've ever felt the car pull and braking.
The other kid had his phone in his hand.
Yeah.
I about made his phone fly out of his hand.
Oh, that's nuts.
And these are stock calipers, stock rotors, only different bands.
That's wild. That you can have that much force out of a stock caliper.
Yeah.
Is it a case that they were oversized in the factory, or they
Kind of.
the
But
car just
also,
made nothing?
when you're running this thing, when you brake, it's a rear bias when it's new, when you're just running as it is.
Yeah.
When you brake, you're bringing it to a 50-50. The rear calipers on a Miata or the rear rotors are a single piece. These are a true two-piece.
Okay, so like
true
that's front
two-piece
rotors
building.
are.
They're very, very strong rear brake.
God, this thing's crazy.
The biggest thing with this thing, you gotta brake in as straight of a line as possible. But if your ass end starts kicking out in a corner, you can't tap brakes.
Good Lord, that is wild. What's done to the suspension block?
KWV3, double adjustable all around,
Oh, you told me that. Okay.
but it's low spring rate right now.
Really? Okay.
I should be running way stiffer.
This thing's crazy. So just like that, I have my first track day under my belt. I've done some little autocross things. We went to like a go-kart track a couple months ago and took street cars, which that was fun. But this is like my first like real track day. Car did great. It just, I think, is not well set up. I think my suspension setup is not great for this purpose, and probably could have used some stickier tires and stuff like that. And the car's also just really heavy, so that definitely doesn't help anybody. Even though I took out my spare, I took out my sub, my amp. So I took a bunch of stuff out. It's still just kind of pushy. So I had a blast though. It was so much fun. Thanks to Jacob for organizing it, and thanks to all the guys who came out and made it possible and made it cheaper for me. Most of all, we split it among, there were 20 of us. So, but really great group of guys. It was a good time. I'm excited to do it again. In fact, I already have some plans for a let's just say a dedicated track car. So that'll be a new build here. Will not replace anything that's already here, but I think I've determined I enjoy that enough that I want to build a track car. So expect to see that in the future. But if you've made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Remember to follow me on Instagram. I have some promos and stuff with companies to get you some discounts in my bio. Other than that, though, I appreciate you watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for maybe some non-Audi content to drop a hint. But see ya.